This is the key to elbow pain that nobody talks about. There are two bones in your forearm, your ulna and your radius. And in order for your elbow to function properly, they need to be able to rotate upon one another. We call this supination and pronation. Supination is when your palm moves towards you, and pronation is the opposite as it moves away. If those bones aren't moving properly, you can supplement that motion at the wrist. What that would look like is your thumb leading the pronation by coming in and forward, or your pinky doing the opposite, leading the supination, so your pinky coming around towards your face. At your desk right now, you can try this. Try to just rotate your hand without your pinky or your thumb leading that motion. Odds are, if you're having elbow pain with anything like extension, so doing a triceps exercise, doing bench press, even doing pull-ups, you probably lack true pronation or supination. As you extend the elbow, you need to be able to adequately pronate. As you flex the elbow, you need to be able to adequately supinate. These are paired motions, they work together. So if you're having pain doing a bicep curl, what I'd really want to look at is if you can adequately supinate without using the hand or wrist to compensate. And if you're having pain during elbow extension motions or push-up motions, what I'd want to look at is your ability to properly pronate at the forearm instead of using the thumb and wrist to compensate. One exercise I really like to start my clients on, I call the dead fish. Very simple exercise. You can do it on a bench like I have over here. You can do it on a table or even the floor if that's all you have access to. You're just going to set your forearm flat on the surface and relax everything. What we're going to work on here is developing awareness as to where you like to move from. So in this position, since we have our arm fully flat against the pad, you're able to sense the contact between your hand, forearm, and the mat. It's a dead fish because your hand should be completely dead. If you pick up your hand at any point, it should be dead like this. Now, if you're using your hand or your wrist too much, when you pick it up, it'll be alive, a live fish. The whole time we're gonna make sure that our elbow maintains contact with the pad in the same spot. It is not moving. We want the articulation to happen at the bones here. So all you're gonna do is slowly try to move into supination, keeping the hand as dead as possible. Once you've reached your end range, you may feel some cramping somewhere deep in your forearm that you probably haven't felt before. That's the intrinsic musculature actually bringing the radius over the ulna. That's true supination. Now we can do the opposite. Slowly go back to the starting position without allowing the thumb to be what guides your hand. From this perspective, you can really see what's going on. So our elbow maintains contact in the same place the entire time, and we're just gonna keep our hand dead and just rotate. We're pivoting on this outside part of the wrist at this bone called your pisiform. That's what maintains contact, and we're going back and forth over that bone. So we'll go supination, keeping everything dead, pronation, keeping everything dead. As you go back and forth, you're going to start to fatigue within the forearm itself. You're not going to feel any of your hand musculature really fatigue. At the end range, you can do an isometric hold there to really push into that position, but with the muscles in the forearm, not with the thumb. Once you're able to differentiate between true pronation and supination and phony pronation and supination using your fingers and your wrist too much, we can then challenge it with a club. So we're gonna put the back side of our forearm on the bench with our hand hanging off. You're gonna grab the club, probably choke up on it over here just because it's gonna be quite challenging when you first do it, and make sure that we're maintaining a neutral wrist. Once we're in this position, all we're gonna do is allow the implement to bring us into pronation, control it the whole way, and then reverse it back to neutral, and allow the implement to bring us into supination. The whole time we're making sure not to grip too hard. We're just using the muscles in our forearm and stabilizing with the hand. You want to make sure that you're not wrist flexing too much or allowing your hand to fall into wrist extension. We're keeping it neutral the entire time. If you don't have a club available, you can always use a dumbbell as well. But instead of grabbing it in the middle here, you're going to grab it kind of choked up on the bottom of the dumbbell. What that's going to do is it's going to increase the lever arm, meaning it's just going to make it a little bit harder by having this part of the weight further away from your hand. So same thing, you're going to let it go back and forth between pronation and supination, maintaining a neutral wrist the whole time, and controlling the whole motion. So we can use a bicep curl to really ingrain these changes. But similarly to the dumbbell variation of the supination pronation, we're gonna grab it choked up on now the top of the dumbbell. That's gonna make it harder to supinate as we come up. So that's gonna challenge the supination aspect. Then on the way down, we're gonna switch to pronation and do the eccentric like that. So as we come up into supination, we're really leading with the pinky, but not squeezing with the pinky too much. And then with the eccentric, we're going to go into pronation and slowly let the weight down. And then once you've mastered that variation, we can actually do the opposite. You can go up in pronation, then supinate up here at the top, and then slowly let it down. This is just gonna challenge the muscles at different lengths and at different ranges of motion. While there are a ton of different fancy things we can do to challenge your pronation and supination, it only really takes the awareness to gain access over that range of motion and have a large effect on your training and your elbow health overall.